Good Friday morning, everybody. Come and get your Simply Cyber Daily Cyber Threat Brief. Today is April 25th, 2025. This is episode 65 of Simply Cyber's Daily Cyber Threat Brief podcast, 864 of your Simply Cyber Daily Cyber Threat Brief podcast. And like the other 863 before that, definitely get the yeets. Like the other 863 before that, over the next hour, I'm your host, Dr. Gerald Auger. Let me get my glasses, actually. Over the next hour, me, you, Redbone, Brian White, Marcus Kyler, Senfilus, Poner Joe, and the whole Meta CTF crew playing last night. Code Brew, Phil Stafford, Brews and Hacks, Kia Ora, Nerdpocalypse. I'm sure Nerman's in here, and Mad Destroyer with his coffee. Guys, the entire Simply Cyber community, including you, is going to be shredding the top cybersecurity news stories of the day, and I'll be giving my expert opinion and analysis on each of those stories on what it means to you as a practitioner. So how can you use this information to drive cyber risk reduction for your business stakeholders and effectively level yourself up as an absolute powerhouse cyber professional so you can pave your own way, negotiate your own compensations, pick your own jobs, and have a rich, fulfilling, and rewarding career that can support a very enjoyable life. That's what it's all about. And if you're not already in the industry and you're looking to break in, this is super valuable for you. You're going to be asked in any job interview, how do you stay current? The Daily Cyber Threat Brief, it is what the Gen Z kids like to call a infinite aura response to that question, assuming that you engage, pay attention. We go through about 8 different stories a day. I do everything I can to mine additional value and insights from my career, my personal experiences. Also, guys, there's a ton of people in this community that are wonderful people looking to mentor, looking to help, looking to share. And I want to point out really quickly, even if you've only been in the industry for 2, 3, 4 years and you might have imposter syndrome, oh, what could I share? Dude, wherever you are in your career right now, wherever you are in your learning path, there's somebody right behind you who would love to be where you are. So keep that in mind. Good morning, Kimberly Can Fix It. Always nice to see you guys. Hey, like every single episode, I don't research or prep for any of the stories.
Ain't nobody got time for that.
Because ain't nobody got time for that. I'm in here, you know, basically like a coworker, talking about, hey, I heard these stories coming in on the way. I was on the 405 down taking the PCH, you know what I'm saying? Left coast. And, you know, basically this is how it works, y'all. Okay, so we got a great show for you. It is Friday, which means only one thing. It's James McQuiggan at 35,000 feet's dad joke of the week. So we'll be coming hot at you on Friday with some rib ticklers. Always a good time, as always. And then, of course, Friday, we have panel jaw-jacking, so we'll see where that goes. Before we get into it, though, I do want to say really quickly, holler to, where is it? Hold on one second. Where is it? I thought I had it all queued up here, bruh. Hold on one second. This is killing me, Smalls. Oh, here it is. Congratulations really quickly to the Meta CTF. Every month, Simply Cyber runs a monthly CTF with cash prizes or with prizes and a black badge. Last night, Roper's Crossroads took the W. William K99 in second and Cyber Enigma in third. Congratulations to those 3 players. And I have your email addresses. I will connect with you and get you your prizes later today, I promise. Also, shout out Roper's Crossroads. Out of over 1,000 competitors, placed 5th overall across the entire Meta CTF platform. The Simply Cyber CTF is a subset of the overall larger Meta CTF, and 5th overall is that's pretty dope there, Roper's Crossroads. So good work to you. Congratulations. Love it, love it, love it. And if you missed out on this month's CTF, don't worry. There is another CTF coming up in May that you can jump on. Don't miss it. And honestly, if you didn't do the CTF because of imposter syndrome, punch imposter syndrome directly in the neck, right? Throat punch it. You can work your way up to punching it in the mouth. Ain't nobody got time for imposter syndrome. You can do it. Trust me. All right, now before we get into the top cyber news of the day, before I have James McQuiggan absolutely delight you, let me just take a hot minute and say shout out and thank you to the stream sponsors, those who enable me to bring this show to you, as well as do fun stuff like the monthly CTF with prizes. That's right, the stream sponsors who financially support the show. Shout out to them really quick. I'll be chatting with you in chat, and then when we get back, I'm going to tell you how this show solves your CPE problems. Let's go. I want to give some love to the Daily Cyber Threat Brief sponsor, ThreatLocker. Do zero-day exploits and supply chain attacks keep you up at night? Well, worry no more. You can harden your security with ThreatLocker. Worldwide, companies like JetBlue trust ThreatLocker to secure their data and keep their business operations flying high. ThreatLocker takes a deny-by-default approach to cybersecurity and provides a full audit of every action allowed or blocked for risk management and compliance. Onboarding and operation is fully supported by their US-based Cyber Heroes support team. Get a free 30-day trial and learn more about how ThreatLocker can help prevent ransomware and ensure compliance. Visit threatlocker.com. Do you want cutting-edge, high-quality cybersecurity education regardless of financial position? Check this out. I want to give some love and some praise to AntiCiphon Training, powered by Black Hills Information Security. AntiCiphon Training is absolutely disrupting the traditional cybersecurity training industry by providing high-quality, cutting-edge education to everyone regardless of financial position. They bring industry professionals with years and years of experience into the classroom to teach you and anyone else who's interested practical skills that are in demand in the market today. And on top of that, the student experience is amazing, as you and hundreds or thousands in some instances of other students are actively engaging, networking, sharing tips, tricks, and experiences with each other, all live in the classroom. Go to AntiCiphonTraining.com, check out their course calendar to see what courses they have coming up next. You won't regret it. Also, I want to let everybody know that around AntiCiphon Training, Hayden Covington was my guest last night on Simply Cyber Firesides. This guy is just a really great guy, super professional, very organized, which I can totally appreciate. He also tips the hat to the GRC people, even though he's like a deep in the weeds blue guy. I just want to share everybody that AntiCiphon is actually hosting a workshop on SOC detection engineering. There isn't a lot of prerequisites for this. I mean, obviously, you do have to understand a bit about networking and operating systems and how very, very basic what logs are and stuff like that. The reason I bring this up is because it's a pay what you can, meaning you can pay $0 for this. It is a live training that you can do virtually, and it is on July 18th. Furthermore, the reason I bring it up is because I have registered for this, okay? And not that I'm any great shakes. I'm just another person in the Simply Cyber community. But anytime I sign up for training or workshops or anything, I want to share it with you, because if you'd like to take a class with me or with members of the Simply Cyber community, it's a lot of fun and it's very engaging and stuff like that. So I will be in this training 100%. So if you're interested, I'll drop a link in chat right now. I'm super excited for it, frankly. It's a skill. Detection engineering is like a big, it's a cool skill. It's something that you can really impress interviewers with, and it's great. So I figured, why not learn from one of the best, right? All right, guys, continue with the stream sponsors. I want to tell you about Barricade Cyber's Fortified 365. Hold on one second. I got to get the read. Fortified 365, yo. Is your Microsoft 365 environment secure? Well, with business email compromise attacks on the rise, your entire operation could be at risk. Fortified 365 from Barricade Cyber Solutions is your defensive shield. Their team of experts implements proven security standards to protect your business from cyber threats, ensure compliance, thank you GRC, and safeguard your sensitive data. They've helped countless organizations strengthen their M365 defenses with tailored solutions that address real-world vulnerabilities, including my business that I was responsible for back at a tech startup. Don't wait until after a breach to take action. Visit Fortified 365 today to learn how you can secure your Microsoft 365 environment against tomorrow's threats. Final ad read, Flare. Oh, wait, no, it's delete me, Flare Academy, guys. Have you ever wondered what separates the best cyber pros from everyone else? Well, let me tell you, I'm Jerry from Simply Cyber, and here's a secret. It's not just what you know, It's who you learn it from. Just like I was saying, learning detection engineering from a YouTube video is one thing. Learning it from the guy who runs detection engineering essentially at Antisyphon or at Black Hills, quite different. Flare Academy is bringing experts from industry to do live webinars. And the cool part is they offer an incredible value where after the webinars, you get direct access through their Discord community to those presenters. So kind of the way we do JawJack and AMA, except through Discord and with those particular individuals. You can go to Flare Academy using the link in the description below. Their next training is on May 6, 2025 at 11 a.m. Eastern Time. It's virtual, so you can get that and learn about managing organizational credential leaks on Azure with code. Oh my God. It's absolutely free, so there's no reason not to check it out. Always do the free stuff first. Join the Flare Academy Discord community using the link in the description below. Thank you very much. All right, now check it out. If today's your first episode, holler. Drop a hashtag first timer in chat. Space Tacos said that a lurker's alert is in effect. So hey, if you're a lurker, don't be shy. Solid community. Say what's up in chat. Hashtag first timer. Thank you, The Pain. Just in case anyone didn't know that I was Jerry. All right, so Wade Wells is getting the first time train going. Wade Wells, ladies and gentlemen, first time in a while. He must have got stuck on the 405. So, anyways, guys, every single episode of the Simply Cyber Daily Cyber Threat Brief is worth half a CPE. So say what's up in chat. Grab a screenshot, file it away once a year, divide by 2. That's number of screenshots. Like for everybody, I think what I'm going to do is actually create a webpage that's Simply Cyber /CPE, and it'll just have a video explaining exactly what to do. So I can just point to that because I get emailed like pretty often. Like I'd say like at least twice a week on how do I do the CPEs, even though I say it in every single session. So, all right, we got the first timers coming in. Joe Gamble, welcome to the party, Joe. Let's get that first timer train going. Where's my John McClane action? There it is. All right. Thank you, Joe. Thank you, Joe. Also, we've got Daniel Lowry in chat, as always. All right. Do me a favor, everybody. It's time to lock and load. Sit back, relax, and let's let the cool sounds of the hot news wash over us in an awesome way. I will see you guys at the mid-roll. Tony Roy, 22 months. Have a good one, everybody. Thank you, Tony Roy, for the continued subscriptions. Support.
These are the cybersecurity headlines for Friday, April 25th, 2025. I'm Steve Prentice. Russian army targeted by Android malware hidden in mapping app. A new Android malware has been found hidden in Trojanized versions of the Alpine Quest Pro mapping app, reportedly.
All right. Hey, really quick. Someone on LinkedIn whose name's not coming over said, I wish we had a cert option for the CPEs. I hear you. That's actually part of like the bigger thing I'm thinking of doing where like basically, here's the thing really quickly on CPEs. If we make you register to be here, then I can email you a CPE certificate, but I don't want to make you register to be here. So we're trying to work through it. It's just the amount of things I'm working on, making a CPE certificate and delivering it to people and figuring out what that workflow looks like is just not. I have about 35 things on my to-do list, and that's like number 28. Like, and I'm not downplaying. It's just there's other things that I have to worry about right now. So I hear you on LinkedIn. I hear you, everybody. It's just
used by Russian soldiers for operational planning. Distributed via Telegram and Russian app catalogs as a free, cracked version, the spyware mimics the legitimate app's full functionality to avoid suspicion. Discovered by Russian antivirus firm Dr. Web, the malware steals sensitive data, including phone numbers, contacts, geolocation, and documents. It also monitors movements in real time and targets location logs and files shared through Telegram and WhatsApp, potentially exposing military operations.
Okay. So this is a perfect example of Trojans, okay? It's too early, people, so don't get your mind out of the gutter. Listen, this is a perfect example of Trojanized malware. Now, remember, Trojans, and this is kind of like, cybersecurity 101, but remember, Trojanized malware is essentially a piece of software that does what it's supposed to do, but also has additional functionality that's either hidden or subverted or, not disclosed to the consumer. And the idea behind this is that because it's a Trojan, just like the Trojan horse, the victim is very likely to be interested in downloading and installing it, as well as wanting to run it and not uninstall it. Additionally, when it pops up in EDR or, Hayden Covington messages you and says, hey, or Wade Wells messages you and it's like, yo, I see that you've got some beaconing going on. What are you doing there? What's this Alpine Quest thing? And they're like, oh, no, it's cool. It's a mapping app that I downloaded. I use it to drive on the PCH, right? Like it's how I get to In-N-Out Burger. And then, it hides a little bit, right? So that's a benefit and a reason why people make these Trojanized software instead of just straight up malware getting all gross up on your stuff. Now, this particular one, of course, Android's a little bit easier to get deployed because it doesn't go through as many checks the way that like Apple walled garden works. So attackers promote the Trojanized app as a free cracked version, not to be confused with Gen Z's cracked, which is a good thing, using Telegram channels and Russian app catalogs. Okay, so here's the deal. What does the actual Trojanized feature do? I'm trying to see what it does. It attempts to steal communication, chat, and sensitive documents from the device, revealing details about operations. Okay, so this is a piece of malware that literally is an mapping app. Remember, really quickly, with a mapping app, you need to provide it your exact GPS location so it knows how to tell you how to get from where you are to where you want to go. Because of that, threat actors will know exactly where you are, exactly where you want to go, exactly where you've been. And I mean, that's literally just within the app that they've Trojanized. If they're able to go down and do other things like, if they get more permissions and they're able to like do key logging or, read messages in other apps and stuff like that, it goes off the rails. So this is a nice, like, again, I'm not here to promote threat actors. Okay. I'm not like,
welcome everybody to the Threat Actor Award Ceremony.
I'm not doing that, but I do give a hat tip. This is clever. The Russian, I guess APT has figured out a great option that people are going to download. Now, again, they are promoting it as a cracked version on Telegram and Russian app catalogs. So you do not necessarily guarantee who's going to download it and who's going to run it. So it does become a bit more of a spray and pray and kind of figure out who you've got. What I would say is, I'm usually more concerned about my children downloading cracked versions of like Roblox patches or whatever, or this Animal Company game my kid's addicted with. But just educate people, buddy. If you download software from random places on the internet, you run you're not necessarily guaranteed to download malware, but you are running a risk. So just educate people. And honestly, guys, if you're using this software, which is a topographic mapping app used by search and rescue teams, athletes and adventurers, and military personnel, why do you need a free cracked version? Get some friggin' budget. How are you running search and rescue in 2025 without like technology to support you? What are you doing? Like, there's no reason. Like, I get it. The economy's tough. CFOs are being pain in the A's trying to like manage budget. But dude, we're talking about a freaking app on Android. Pay for it. Stop doing silly stuff like this. Also, I want to point out this is not novel. This is not innovative. Okay. This is actually, it's dark and macabre, but it is one of my favorite. I reference this story a lot. Back in like, I want to say 2018, 2019, Okay, this is pre-Russia invading Ukraine. This is when Russia was doing the Crimea annexation. There was a very similar app that Russia deployed or made. Okay, this is going to get really dark, so you may want to mute it or go to the bathroom or something, but this will take 30 seconds. I just want to explain how this can be weaponized, all right? Right now, this example is just intelligence gathering, right? Where are people? Where are they going? What are troop movements, etc. In like the late 2010s, Russia actually released an app and marketed it towards Ukrainian people, and the app did one very specific thing. It was designed for, and I'm going to get the terminology wrong, so military people, please correct me. But basically, the people who shoot mortars, like fixed heavy munitions, when you shoot those things, you shoot it so far, you don't see where it lands. It's not like you're shooting somebody like across the street from you where you can kind of point it. You're shooting it miles. So in order to get the trajectory and what the pitch and yaw and all that other crap is, you need an app to tell you like what it is. And Russia actually created an app where you just point on the app where you want your munition to land, and it gives you the coordinates or whatever to put into your weapon, your heavy mortar round thing. The problem was that it needed to know exactly where you were. So when Russia deployed this and a bunch of Ukrainians picked it up, basically they were beaconing exactly where the heavy mortar things were and the soldiers themselves, you know, and obviously, not obviously, but Russia basically deployed a kinetic response to those locations and eliminated them, which means they eliminated the heavy munitions as well as the human beings that were at those sites. So this can be very, very, very weaponized in a very, very real way that results in real loss of life. Okay, so Trojans aren't just annoying, ooh, I got a cracked version of RuneScape. What happened to my gold? No, this is like, you know, like you wake up and like the camp next to you is just a smoking mortar, or you know what I mean, a crater. Okay.
An Alpine Quest app is widely used for offline GPS mapping. Attackers hit security device defects
Thank you. Yes, the targeting data.
hard in 2024. Attackers are increasingly exploiting security flaws in edge devices like VPNs, firewalls, and routers, according to Mandiant's latest M-Trends report. In 2024, exploits accounted for 1/3 of all initial attack methods, with the 4 most targeted vulnerabilities found in these critical devices. Many of these were zero-day exploits, and nearly half of all observed exploitations targeted edge devices. These tools meant to protect networks often lack third-party security support, making organizations vulnerable. Attacks have affected major companies and government agencies, with notable increases in espionage activity from Russian and Chinese actors, according to Google's Threat Intelligence Group.
Okay, so couple things here. One, normally I would be like, I don't know about this. You sure about that? But Mandiant is super legit. If you don't know, Mandiant is basically like the big D swinging when it comes to Fortune 50 incident response, okay? Kevin Mandia runs it. Google acquired him a few years ago. They are like legit, okay? I actually interviewed a guy last year who is a senior director or managing director at Mandiant, and he still has a go bag by his front door, and he has more than once gotten a call at like 2 a.m, and there's like a black SUV outside his house, and he just gets up, gets his go bag, gets in the SUV, it takes him to an airport, and he gets on a plane and figures out what's happening in flight, right? So Mandiant's super, super intense. So when they say that they've reported on findings that this is reality, yeah, I believe them. It's just crazy. They said technical exploitation was the most common initial attack vector in 2024. Software defects were used in 1 in 3 attacks for initial attack access, which to me is just unbelievable. Like I believe it because it's what they're saying, but it's just, dude, leaked credentials to me is like, I would bet money. I would answer a Final Jeopardy question, leaked credentials, or just user access, not technical exploitation. But hey, if they said it, that's what they mean. Now they are calling attention to network edge devices. Guys, we in 2025, zero trust architecture, the identity is the edge, etc. It shouldn't come as a surprise that network edge devices are the most common exploited, right? And think about it for a minute, right? Network edge devices are the one that are facing the internet. Network edge devices is the one that has the largest population of individuals that can touch, probe, whatever, right? Like an inside firewall or a database server in your network or whatever has far fewer people that can hit it unless it's misconfigured, right? So to me, like the hot take that the most exploited vulnerabilities were edge devices is like, that's not news. That's like obvious, okay? I hate to be so flippant about it, but like, no kidding. That's like saying there's more traffic accidents at the busy intersection than there is at the country road crossing. No kidding. There's like 1,000% more cars driving through the busy intersection. There's obviously going to be way more car accidents. All right, so what does this mean? We had the Avanti VPN. We had all these different file sharing softwares. I mean, it's been a minute since we had Exchange issues, but yeah, dude, when you are doing vulnerability management,
you gotta patch it.
You have to prioritize. I don't care who you are. I don't care if you don't like GRC. You have to prioritize internet-facing assets, period. Full stop, okay? What are you doing here? Like, you can't patch all the things. You don't have enough time. Some things you've outsourced. So, like, it's a SaaS product, and you just use it as a platform or as a software, and you're not even responsible for patching it. But the things that you are responsible for patching, your apps, your operating systems, your middleware, internet-facing ones, you have to prioritize. The chances, the likelihood for your risk calculation is way higher, okay? That doesn't mean that your critical mission-critical applications inside your network, the things that make that straight cash, homie, shouldn't be prioritized, but you just have to prioritize both. And then just do kind of a risk calculations on it. This is why GRC people get paid money, because they figure out the risks.
Critical Comvault Command Center flaw warning. Watchtower Labs is warning of a critical vulnerability in the Comvault Command Center, a web-based user interface for data protection and recovery tasks. With a CVE number and a CVSS score of 9.0, it allows remote attackers to execute arbitrary code without authentication. The flaw affects the 11.38 innovation release. Comvault has warned that the vulnerability could result in full system compromise. The flaw was reported on April 7th, and an official advisory was released by Comvault on April 17th.
All right. First of all, I haven't heard of Comvault. I'm not familiar with it, but I mean, it sounds pretty legit. CVE 2025-34028. Let's go ahead and go to our trusty EPS lookup tool provided by Barricade Cyber. It's going to wait 10 seconds. This has a 9.0 out of 10 on CVSS score, which means it's pretty serious. Remote attackers can execute arbitrary code without authentication. This is pretty much the worst. Hey, for real quick, if you didn't know this, okay, if you're a longtime practitioner, you know this, but you're also not annoyed that I'm sharing this because this is important for new people to know. If you see allows remote attackers arbitrary execution without authentication, that's pretty much the worst combination for us. That means they don't need access. They don't need any credentials. They don't need, default creds. They don't need anything. If they can get to the box, they can do whatever they want, including execute arbitrary code, which means the arbitrary code will either be to open a reverse shell so they can get in the box and do even worse, or reach out to a C2 and pull down a payload and detonate it. Either way, you are having a bad day. Either way, you are running backwards through a cornfield sans pants. You don't want that. It depends what this command center thing does. obviously, right? Because if they take that over, what does that actually mean? So anyone who knows what the Comvault command center thing is, let me know. SSRF flaw. So obviously, not obviously, but I would assume this is a web application front end to this Comvault solution that is getting exploited. Yeah, look at this. So here's what the attack sequence looks like. They weaponize it and they immediately pull a zip file from an external server. This is pulling down a payload from a malicious controlled environment, right? From a C2 server. Then they unzip it because they can execute any code they want into a temp directory. And then they get a shell. The shell is them having access to the box. And at this point, they are wearing your pants. At this point, they are the captain now, okay? So this is a nice, clean look. Obviously, the things you want to do really quickly as a practitioner. And if you want to play along at home, you can hit pause and think about what you would do and then hit play and see if you vibe with me on this one. Number one, obviously.
You gotta patch it.
You gotta patch it. Make sure that you're getting up to version 11, above 11.3.8. 11.3.8.20 or 11.3.8.25 are the okay versions. So if you're running that, you're good to go. Number two, you may want to, it depends, you may want to download this Watchtower payload. I assume it's a POC, proof of concept, so you can detonate it on your own environment in a controlled way and see if you are vulnerable to this attack. Don't do this, by the way, unless you know what you're doing, okay? Do not detonate POC exploits unless you know what you're doing. Number three, if you really want to go hard, and you take Hayden Covington's class on detection engineering, or you're friends with Wade Wells, you could create some detections that look for things like look at the web server logs and see if a request comes into this deploy webpackage.do that results in retrieving a zip file from some server out on the world, right? If you can see that would be an interesting. If you immediately see it going to a temp directory, that would be even more evidence to support a true positive. And then if there's a shell, obviously, if you go to reports metrics upload and you see a shell in there, well, now you're threat hunting and you've discovered access from a threat actor. So that's not good. All these things, dude, you can do protections, you can do detection and responses. You can even do a little bit of red. I don't know. This Comvault's probably not a free solution. So if you wanted to, as a researcher, as a student, maybe not in this instance, but you could stand up the solution with a vulnerable version, then download the payload and exploit it and demonstrate what it looks like. I could see what I just told you as guidance. Obviously, I believe that's valuable, but making a video showing that would be hugely valuable for people. So, just some content creator ideas. And finally, I've never heard of Watchtower, but I low-key really like what they're doing. They put out some really good threat intelligence. Let me know in chat if you have heard of Watchtower before. Because, again, they're not really making big waves, but whenever they do, they're kind of like Safe Breach. Like, you don't hear about them a lot, but when they do, like, their research is, like, sick.
Linux Yuring security blind spot can lead to rootkit attacks. A major security flaw.
Oh, yeah. Thank you, Poner Joe. EPSS score 0.031%. That's very low. You have a 0.3% of getting exploited by this in the next 30 days. So this Comvault thing is critical from a CVSS score perspective, but you do have time to patch it.
In the Linux kernel's Yuring interface, that is IO_URING, allows rootkits to evade detection by enterprise security tools, according to researchers at ARMO, ARMO. Introduced in Linux 5.1 for faster asynchronous I/O, the Yuring bypasses traditional system calls using shared ring buffers to queue operations. Most security tools focus on monitoring syscalls and overlook Yuring, creating a critical blind spot. Armo demonstrated the risk with a proof-of-concept rootkit named Curing, C-U-R-I-N-G. Due to the severity of the threat, Google has disabled I/O Yuring by default on Android and Chrome OS. The flaw underscores a hidden vulnerability in Linux runtime security environments.
All right, so this seems like it's a race condition vulnerability. And it has to do with the way Linux basically processes requests for, I believe, putting on the processor, like the way that like the not stack flow, but the way that like the process flow works in Linux based on this I/O Yuring kernel interface. Yeah, see, asynchronous input-output operations. Again, like that. The way I'm reading this, it's around how the Linux kernel is optimizing for processor performance, not in the speed of the processor, but the way that it's executing effectively commands on the processor and managing the stack. This is a very, very deep technical problem and exploit. So I haven't heard of Armo before, but very nice Armo. Yep. A lot of security tools look for syscalls and hooking. Right? I've never even heard of the IO ring thing. So basically, here's the deal. Our current strategy for EDR solutions and threat monitoring and detections, right? And Wade Wells, this is a pretty deep vulnerability in that it's rooted more in like the philosophy and the strategy of looking for bad on a computer versus a novel technique from a threat actor. So again, I say Wade because if you want to speak about looking at syscalls or hooking, but this IO ring apparently is like another way that the processor is used for performance, but then a threat actor can use it also to do bad, okay? Let's see here. 61 op types, including file read writes, etc. Okay, so I guess what happened here is this IO Yuring. This is going to be like super... I'm going to try to make this as like high level and like as easy to process as possible, but this is incredibly technical. Essentially, this is Linux, but if you think of like Windows system functions, right? Like the way that the kernel, you got to remember, okay, so like, goddamn, this is going to turn into like an operating systems course lecture. You got to remember, you operate up here, the kernel is here, and then hardware is down here. You as a user and applications can't touch hardware because it would be a hot mess express. That's what the kernel does. That's what the operating system does. The operating system is the one that interfaces with the processor, with memory, with the caches, with disk, okay? Right? So they need to be able to write to disk or read from disk, write to processor, read from processor. It needs to be able to access the cache. And through that, it's through function calls. And it says op types, right? These are like foundational axiomatic functions, essentially, that the kernel needs to access these things. And essentially, the way I'm reading this is that this IO Yuring kernel driver is essentially a library of 61 different types of like function calls that includes read, write, file creation, opening, accepting networks, spawning processes, right? Modifying file permissions, etc. So it's essentially this like bundle of really, really juicy functionality that's just put over here. And a lot of people haven't been paying attention to it because they're over here looking at the new hotness. And threat actors or security researchers have figured out, hey, wait a minute, this thing over here collecting dust also can do these things. That's interesting. Let's see if we can exploit it. And they did. Now, it almost feels like it's a little vestigial because you don't need it. The fact that Google turned it off by default on Android and Chrome OS would suggest that that is not actually needed. They did not full on remove it because you may have some custom applications that depend on those Linux kernel drivers because somebody somewhere wrote code that was brittle. All I would say is, for real, this is a pretty deep problem. This is not something you just go and change or configure. This is an operating system level problem that, like, if you're running Linux, you may want to verify whether or not this particular issue is in your environment. This would require a Linux, like a Ubuntu operating system patch or a Debian system patch, okay? If they can put a rootkit on your box, that's not good. Rootkits go underneath everything, and they're very difficult to detect. Yeah, you can see he tested, this Armo group tested against commercial tools for detection and didn't find it. This is nice. If you want to test your own environment, there is a free resource on GitHub that you can use to see if you are vulnerable to this, right? Again, this is a very deep thing, but if you have a Linux server that is absolutely the most important thing in your business, you may want to check this out. All right, let's keep going.
Huge thanks to our sponsor, Dropzone AI. Alert investigation is eating up your security team's day. 30 to 40 minutes per alert adds up fast. Dropzone AI's SOC analyst transforms this reality by investigating every alert with expert-level thoroughness at machine speed. Their AI SOC analyst gathers evidence, connects the dots across your security tools, and delivers clear reports with recommended actions, all in minutes. No playbooks to build, no code to write. Just consistent, high-quality investigations that free your team to focus on what matters, stopping actual threats. Meet them at RSA, at booth ESE60.
Yeah, Carrie, it doesn't matter if it's a server or an endpoint. Like, it would still be a problem if it's a problem. Let's go. All right, welcome everybody to the mid-roll. Joe Gamble, first timer. I hope you're enjoying the show. Guys, I want to say shout out and thank you to the stream sponsors, Barricade Cyber, Flare Academy, Antisyphon, ThreatLocker. Really appreciate you guys. I do want to say shout out to thank you to all of you, the funky monks in the chat, the carries in the chat, the triple Ds, the mod team. If you're a squad member, please drop some mod love. We got Justin Gold, Jenny Housley, Kimberly Can Fix It. Casually Joseph is here, putting in the cycles. DJ B-Sex here in spirit. I'm going to drop some mod love. We have the mod love emote just to tip our hat. Guys, again, shout out to the CTF participants and winner, Roper Crossroads, William K99, Cyber Enigma. I really, really appreciate all you guys. Hope you had fun with it. Guys, every single day of the week has a special segment, and Fridays is Dad Joke of the Week presented by our very own community member, James McQuiggan at 35,000 feet. This guy is amazing. Just love it. So here we go. What do you call bears with no ears? What do you call bears with no ears? A bee. A bee. Oh, gosh, a bumblebee. So, why are flowers good at networking? Hey, we preach networking all the time here. Right? We preach networking all the time here, but do you know why flowers are good at networking? They know how to branch out. All right, and finally, James wants you to know, what do you call a flower that runs on electricity? Lara Flores, what do you call a flower that runs on electricity? James is asking. Well, let me tell you, you call it a power plant. Well, hold on. All right, hey, that was a misfire on the sound effect board, but also we could parlay it and say that someone called the cops because James is killing it. Oh, my God. All right. Hey, thank you very much, James McQuiggan. As always, guys, it's been a long week. I hope you enjoyed the Daily Cyber Threat Brief all week this week. It was a good time. Let's jump ahead. We are behind schedule. I'm going to jump ahead. We'll get our la's on. Joe Gamble, we do this every day, so feel free to turn it up. Alpha Sierra, going to lead us off.
We just become best friends. Yep.
Lazaro Rivera, $5 super chat. Good morning, Dr. Auger. I believe Watchtower is Sentinel One's threat hunt group. Appreciate all you do. Team SC all day. Thank you. You know what? That makes a lot of sense, too, Lazaro. Thank you. Definitely appreciate that. All right. Go, Alpha Sierra. Go, everybody. Let's go. Let's finish strong, everybody. We got jaw jacking to do.
0 government internet shutdowns in the first quarter 2025.
Okay.
According to Cloudflare, governments worldwide appear to be reducing their use of internet shutdowns to suppress protests and control information. The company, along with other monitoring groups like NetBlocks, has tracked numerous shutdowns and website bans, often linked to elections or conflict, with some going on for years in authoritarian regimes like Myanmar. However, Cloudflare's Q1 2025 Internet Disruption Report shows no new shutdowns so far this year, a rare occurrence seen only in 2 other quarters over the past 3 years, suggesting a possible shift in government behavior regarding Internet access.
Yeah. All right, this is like, whatever, interesting. I'll just, tinfoil hat, really quick tinfoil hat, everybody. Okay, I'm not speaking about, I'll just tell you 2 things. Number 1, if you're looking for an example of this, look no further than Turkey. Look no further. 2014. The country of Turkey, their leadership was corrupt, and the citizens were revolting, and they tried to, like, basically DNS sinkhole Twitter because that's how they were coordinating, and they got around it. But anyways, yeah, this is a thing, dude. The internet is very powerful, and it allows people to communicate and organize, and a technique is the scorched earth shutting down the internet. Well, government-backed internet shutdowns plummet to 0. Here's my speculative hot take. Why shut down the internet when you can just control the messaging, right? It's a lot more powerful to shape the narrative than it is to just stop the internet and then let people, you know, get their own information, right? Like, that, to me, 100%, that's why this is not a technique anymore, because honestly, it's more powerful to shape the narrative than it is to black out the internet. All right. And I'm not pointing to any particular country. I'm just saying in the global leader playbook, that seems to be much hotter right now than basically removing access.
That Hansel's so hot right now.
UK retailer Marks & Spencer still down. Following up on a story we brought you on Wednesday, the UK retailer Marks & Spencer says its contactless payment systems are still down following a cyber incident that occurred last week. As a result, purchasing procedures such as click and collect and home deliveries are affected. The retailer announced that some of its internal processes have been moved offline, which the Register suggests is consistent with a ransomware scenario.
Yeah. Dude, I mean, whatever. Large businesses, you guys play your playbook. You do you, boo. But, like, it's obvious to everybody that works in our industry when you have a ransomware attack. Systems offline, customers not happy, product a problem, everybody crapping their pants. Sometimes it's even ransomware threat group has publicly accessible leak page. Pastebin files are dropped. Like, dude, we know it's a ransomware attack. Like, what do you, like, I get it. The shareholders, we're talking about money.
Straight cash, homie.
Guys, no kidding. Whatever. This is a large company that got punched in the mouth and they are trying to, be resilient. I don't care if you're a $1 million annual revenue business or a multi-billion-dollar company. The playbook's kind of the same. The implementation, the complexity of it obviously gets larger as you add people and facilities and systems. But at the end of the day, it's not rocket science. Friggin' identify your weaknesses, try to shore them up as best you can, have great backups, understand your mission critical processes and mission critical applications, be able to recover at least to a minimum viable business operation, do tabletop exercises so you understand how to respond when this happens, manage privileged access, patch your crap. Don't just do the things that we're talking about. Multi-factor authentication, not have default creds, limit your attack surface, do active pen testing.
Darkula adds Gen AI to phishing toolkit. Further lowering the barrier for cybercriminals and likely coming as a surprise to no one, the China-based phishing-as-a-service platform Darkula, that is not Dracula, but Darkula, has, quote, released new updates to their cybercrime suite with generative artificial intelligence capabilities, end quote. According to cybercrime detection company Netcraft, in a new report, quote, this edition lowers the technical barrier for creating phishing pages, enabling less tech-savvy criminals to deploy customized scams in minutes, end quote.
All right, hold on.
Third.
We knew this was coming. We knew that Gen AI was going to be weaponized by threat actors, especially for code obfuscation, code writing, phishing. By the way, this is called Darkula. I don't know if anyone else read it as Dracula. I did multiple times until just now. Phishing as a service platform.
That Hansel's so hot right now.
Phishing as a service is so hot right now. There's a lot of players in that space. So if you're looking to start a new business, phishing as a service may not be a good one. You'll have to do.
We're considering doing a market survey to start a phishing as a service business.
I'm just saying, I don't think it's a good time right now. Again, I don't want you to start a phishing as a service. I don't want anyone to. I'm not promoting that. I'm just saying it seems like a crowded market. All right. Yeah, the whole thing, the whole thing about these phishing as a service, they're literally trying to make it a turnkey solution for people who don't know what they're doing to have infrastructure. This is no different, okay, than, think about this. You log into DayZ, okay, and you got nothing but a glow stick and bandages, and for $25 a month or whatever, you can get a fully loaded rig. You get a weapon, a backpack full of gear, a bunch of canned veggies, right? And I know a lot of people here don't play DayZ, but just imagine anything that you start with nothing, and you can work to get leveled up, whether it's a game or it's in life or whatever, right? How about moving into a new place? Everybody here's probably moved at least once. You move, it's a ton of work. It's a super pain in the butt. And what you do is when you get to your house or your apartment or your condo, you set up your friggin' bed, and then you sit on a milk crate and you eat some pizza. And then you sleep in your bed, and then tomorrow you get up and you do the kitchen. And then and then 6 months later, you still have some boxes from the living room and the den, because ain't nobody got time for that, right? Everybody's done that. So imagine if you could pay to just have your house magically set up. Everybody would do that. That's what these friggin' phishing as a service is. It's just, it simplifies everything, and it's super effective, which is why it's so popular right now. Now, this particular toolkit leverages Apple iMessages to send smishing messages to users that trick recipients into clicking on bogus links like the Postal Service. Guys, if I get another friggin', you have a package from DHL, or congratulations, you've made your Apple payment, your AT&T payments, click here for your free prize, or your toll booths, right? That's what this is. This is why it's so not hot, but just coming in hot. All right. Of course, threat actors are using Telegram to sell. as just a separate topic, I wonder, it's a philosophical choice, but like how much responsibility does Telegram have to curbing the use of threat actors to basically use Telegram as a marketplace? You know? I mean, it's not like a one-off. It's like, it is not good. Look at this, man. 25,000 Darkula pages taken down, 30,000 IP addresses blocked and flagged. See what I mean? Really quickly, just look at these numbers. 30,000 IP addresses blocked and 90,000 phishing domains flagged. So when we talk about the David Bianco pyramid of pain, and we're looking at the lower parts, of that pyramid, right? This is such a classic resource in our industry. Yeah, exactly. Package delivery, preferably. So I know this graphic's kind of fuzzy or whatever, but pixelated. But dude, look at the bottom three. Hash values, IP addresses, and domain names. It's simple, easy, and trivial for threat actors to change these. And I know for me and you, registering a domain name like DanielLowry.com, I've got to go to a registrar. I've got to spend $25. I got to set it up. But like at this scale, threat actors don't give a damn. They use domain generation algorithms. They can crank these suckers out. They use automation to switch IP addresses and stuff. So like this is why when you see like known C2 infrastructure and there's an IP address and you're going to go put a firewall rule in place to block that IP address, well, get ready to block 30,999 more. So again, I'm not, this is why, all right?
Party breaches double in a year. According to Verizon's Data Breach Investigations report released this past Wednesday, quote, the proportion of breaches involving third parties rose from 15% in last year's dataset to 30% in this year's report, end quote. The report suggests cybercriminals are, quote, increasingly looking at organizations such as accountants and law firms as ways to reach their intended targets, end quote. Verizon adds that, quote, vendors and other business partners are expanding the attack surface by failing to enforce proper access controls, including preventing credential misuse. In particular, weak third-party practices continue to expose organizations to downstream risks, end quote.
All right. Guys, supply chain is a concern that you should be working on solving the risk of, right? Third-party breaches doubled last year. You can expect this. Again, I got to tell you guys, 100% of the time, a supply chain vendor, somebody you're using, is not going to let you secure their environment. Like, you're partnering, like I partner with Google for some stuff, right? Like they don't know me from a hole in the wall. I pay a monthly fee to use some Google services, right? I can't go in there and be like, I'm actually going to need you guys to roll out MFA for me. Yeah. They're going to be like, take a hike, dude. Right. So you can't improve the risk from a technical level on those third parties, but they do have your data. And this is where GRC comes in. You should be mindful of data governance and access to your supply chain. Okay. Also, it's a little bit of a different risk, but like if you're depending on a certain vendor for mission critical stuff, then supply chain, you should have a backup or a continuity plan if they get hit with ransomware and they're unable to deliver, right? That doesn't necessarily affect your data. You don't have a data breach on your hands, but just imagine for a second, like I'll give you a perfect example that's like slightly made up, but like there's a place called Publix, right? And if you are if you know about Publix grocery stores, then holler at you. You know what I'm talking about. But their bakery is phenomenal. And they have these like apple fritters that I like low key have kind of like a Dave Chappelle, Tyrone Billingsley crack addiction to these apple fritters. If you've had these apple fritters, you know what I'm talking about. Okay. Just thinking about them is making me like drool. Okay. They haven't had these apple fritters for like 6 months, which by the way is like low key devastating. And I asked them recently, I'm like, where's the apple fritters? I've had enough of this no apple fritter situation. And they're like, oh, we actually depend on some vendor for like something that we put in the apple fritters, and they haven't had any for 6 months. So we can't sell apple fritters. We don't know where they are. And I'm like, rawr! So obviously Publix doesn't care enough to find a replacement vendor. But my point is, if all you sold was those like I'm not spending money at Publix. I'm not giving them my money for apple fritters because they don't have them. So for your business, whether it's apple fritters or it's tax preparation, if there is something that your business depends on from a third party in order to deliver mission critical services, you should have some type of backup plan in place in case they don't exist anymore, because you can see that the number of attacks that are impacting businesses in general is going up, and the impact to downstream businesses that are depending on those supply chain vendors will be impacted by that. Okay, let's go. All right, y'all. Hold on, I think I just turned down the wrong one. All right, y'all. Hey, I do want to say thank you for all being here. We're right at the top of the hour. It's 9 a.m. Eastern time. Don't go anywhere, because we are going to be doing jaw jacking in just a hot minute. Jaw jacking is an AMA-style panel on Fridays where we're going to answer all your questions. I know there was a lot of questions yesterday that we didn't get to, so if you're in chat and you want to drop those, let us know. Otherwise, if you got to get out of here, go on. You enjoy your weekend. And for the first-timers here, I hope you had a great experience. Come on back on Monday. We do this every single weekday morning, 8 a.m. to 9 a.m. I'm Jerry from Simply Cyber. Until next time, see ya! Ever wonder what it takes to break into cybersecurity? Join us every weekday for Jawjacking, where industry experts answer your burning questions about the cybersecurity field. Live, unfiltered, and totally free. Let's level up together. It's time for some Jawjacking. I don't know where my Jerry guy glasses went. Damn it. What's up, everybody? Welcome to Jawjacking. This is the Simply Cyber podcast show that's really loose and fast. If the daily cyber threat briefing hosted by that nerd, Dr. Gerald Auger, is the front of a mullet, the business up front, Jawjacking is the party in the back, okay? This is the complement mullet to the daily cyber threat brief. This show is going to be wicked fun. We are going to answer all your questions. Drop them in chat. On Fridays, we have a panel. And we don't know who's going to be joining us. Hold on one second. Right there. Yes, sir. Panels are popping in here. So let me change my camera angle, and I will properly introduce the panelists who are starting to stream in. Yes, sir. All right. Cool. Get this jaw-jacking thing going. All right. So, ladies and gentlemen, our first panelist, you know him as a regular. He's been out of the loop here for a few weeks, but he's back now, ladies and gentlemen. Fleet is.
Good morning, everyone.
Fleet is frozen. We're moving. Fleetus, can you speak? I want to confirm audio.
I can speak. Yeah, you froze for me. I don't know what happened.
I don't know. It's Simply Cyber. There's always issues. We're gonna have some other panelists join us in just a minute. But really quick, Fleetus is, if I may, Fleetus is a SOC manager with a lot of experience in hiring for SOCs and doing blue team type stuff. He's been in the industry quite a while, so he's got some answers to everybody. Looks like we're going to be joined by In-N-Out's own, the CTI 101 instructor, Wade Wells, so stay tuned for that. Fleetus, how was your week while we get the questions lined up?
It was good. I spent the first half in Gatlinburg, Tennessee with the family, so back
nice.
here.
I like that. All right, here we go. Look at this guy. San Diego's own, ladies and gentlemen, Wade Wells.
What's up? I'm
You're
sorry I've
looking
been
good, Wade.
gone.
I like you.
I'm so tired. Just so tired.
Yeah?
Yeah, it's been
keeping you up? Are you sick or what?
No, just the new job has been it's been a brain dump. Like I've had to learn so much so quickly. It's the usual thing, and when you get a new job and you have to read a million things and input
figure out how work gets done here and who's who's not. Really quickly, Pocket Pixie says, "Who are these people?" So this is Fleetus Post in the third. I'm probably going to put the names up in a second, and this is Wade Wells, SOC manager, SOC analyst, detection engineer, both blue teamers or defenders. So just to kind of give people perspective on the questions. Congratulations on the new job. Here we go. I'm just going to grab a question out and we'll get this going. What major difference is likely to exist between on-prem identity services and those used in a cloud-based environment? I thought cloud providers handled it all. Fleetus, why don't you go first, and I'm going to get some more questions queued up.
So I really want Wade's on this too, but I'll start with the first part. So identity in the cloud is your new perimeter. Where on-prem, you had either a firewall or you had a DMZ, demilitarized zone, out there that allowed stuff to stop before coming in, versus SaaS-based identity. So that's your Okta, your Entra, formerly known as Azure AD environments, where it's provisioned by your provider, and then you just assume roles, either in a SaaS product, a cloud provider, and other places, which makes fun for detections, because now you've got to watch where the human ID goes, the security principal goes, if there's a token, because identity is now more than just you and I. It's not just a human. It could be the Lambda service. It could be many different things could be an identity when you're in the cloud, because most stuff runs serverless or functionless. So that makes it fun for us as blue teamers to determine if this is kicked off by a CI/CD process or if it's initiated from an adversary.
Fun. It changes up like Fleeta said, it changes up the threat landscape a lot. You have to now rethink how you're building out detections. Whereas like traditionally you're just thinking endpoint, like Fleeta said, right? Like I can write a couple good EDR alerts and be fine. Now I have to think about how people are coming in. I have to make sure people aren't phishable or they have some type of unphishable credentials in place, right? I can see how it can be more secure. I understand it, but I think it's a lot harder to set up, and it is a little bit more. It is more difficult to defend. I think, at least from a log standpoint, depending on how mature your organization is. Usually, someone who's already using this too is probably pretty tech savvy, and people aren't going to want to be reined in a lot. Is what I have seen. So they do this so anybody can get on, but you're going to need to put in some limitations, right? You want some geolocation risk. No logins from Russia type of deal. But then there's Steve, who just likes going to Russia every now and then.
Yeah, the other thing there too, that you've got your identity detection and response tools now that are really just monitoring where that identity goes. So to Wade's point, does this service principal always initiate from Ireland, or is it, and now it's initiating from Korea? Why? Like, is that identity supposed to be there? Or even better, this identity's only been in this S3 bucket, but all of a sudden it's spinning up EC2s in Europe. Why?
And then you're relying on geolocation data for IP addresses, which absolutely suck already. So I won't get into that.
Yeah. Well, and I'm kind of curious, guys, like, jumping on a VPN is trivial, right? And if you're like a really good advanced threat actor, you probably pop a soft target and then proxy through them on your actual target. So is it just like kind of a general best practice, but is it general best practice to block like access attempts coming in from Cambodia or wherever as just a good practice, but it's not really going to be, it's certainly not a silver bullet, but I mean, do you just do it because it's a best practice and you don't put a lot of faith in it?
Catches low-hanging fruit.
Yeah, so the pyramid of pain, for those who don't know, from David Blanca, like IPs are your lowest fidelity, but at the same time, you want a threat intel feed that's has a list of malicious IPs. So that's immediately dropped if it's inside of one of those lists. But I know I can wash an IP. Like if I can keep it clean as an e-commerce site for a couple months, get it added back to an allow list, and then make it malicious again. So that's why relying on IPs is just painful.
SP over on Discord wants to know, so Fleetus, like as someone who hires, Wade as someone who just got hired, right? Let's talk about degrees for a second. So I have a degree in computer science. candidate B has a degree in English literature, and we're both going for the same job, right? How much does the specific degree, well, so we both have bachelors, and then there's somebody with no bachelor's degree, right? How do these three candidates stack up against each other when you're evaluating?
So first, depends on what role you're applying for. Is this an entry level? Is this a junior level role? Or are you applying for more of a senior principal staff role? If you're at the upper part of that, I'm not looking at your degree. I'm looking at what you've done in the field. I'm looking at where you've worked, what roles you've had. And then your degree is going to come up, because at that point in your career, your bachelor's or your degree or education is generally going to be at the bottom of your resume, because you're going to show me what you've done, not what you learned. On the flip side, if you're a college grad, recent grad, your bachelor's degree is probably at the top of your resume. So it's the first thing I'm going to see. So I'm going to take note of it. But then I'm also going to look, what does your hands-on experience look like? Do you have certification, yay or nay? Where have you worked? Have you worked anywhere? Either if it's internships, nonprofit service, or if it's an actual paid job. All of those are work experience. For those who don't matter, so list any nonprofit work you've done, community service you've done, as well as full-time or part-time gigs. That will help. But at the end of the day, it depends on the role. It depends on the company and the requirements from my HR team. Certain HR teams still require degrees or an equivalent years of service. So I need to check that box. Unless, here's the it depends question. I'll go to bat for certain candidates if I believe they're qualified and I've got an internal reference who's recommending this candidate to me. I will get HR to let them skip that requirement, because I know Wade's had similar experience where they required a CISSP. He doesn't hold his CISSP, and he was able to still get the job.
Yep. Getting someone to go to bat for you is huge. So, Wade, of all the interview questions you ask, what do you think is the most difficult to answer, or that you are asked? You know, what do you think is something that's difficult to answer, and what would be a great answer?
Yeah, I've been my last interview process. So my last job, the manager probably had some of the best interview questions I've ever had, and that was the reason why I took the job, is because I thought they were good. And it was little ones that you wouldn't think are too hard, but if you were highly technical, you could get deep into it. And is like, what's your favorite attack? Right? If I ask a rookie that, they're gonna go say phishing and then go into phishing. If you tell me that and I say using an ISO to get past the mark of the web, that is a clear someone who's thinking next level. And it's not something that, like, unless you're really thinking about it, you're going to get it. And even if that person is a rookie and answering that, they can still answer it to a good point. So I try to go for questions that I know that are open-ended, that someone could deep dive into, and someone that can do good if they don't know a lot, right? Hopefully that makes sense. Like, what's your favorite threat actor type of deal? Hopefully you've been reading the news and you know about threat actors.
Mm-hmm. Fleetus, I do like this question, so I want your thoughts on it as well.
Most of the time to Wade, I'm asking very open-ended questions because I want to see where you're going to take it. And depending on how you answer the question, it's going to depend on what question I follow up with, because I have some canned questions, but at the same time, I'm going to interview to your strengths most of the time. I want to know where you're going to lie, and I'm going to pull at your threads. It's not until later in the interview process or multiple rounds that I'm going to use the stump question. And I rarely call it a stump question. It's just I want to see how deep you can go. And if you're outside of my expertise, I have another member of my team who can say that's crap. Most of the time, I can still answer the question, so I'm comfortable with it. But I will never ask a question that I don't know the answer to in the interview unless there's someone else in the room who can verify that answer.
Good point. And I just want to share, those are kind of like technical responses. I unless almost always this question works. Sometimes if it's like a fresh college grad, maybe not, but like for the most part, this question works. I love asking people for like their embarrassing IT.
Oh, we lose Jerry.
Yeah, he's been freezing this morning.
A technical. What's that? I'm freezing or?
Yeah, you froze again.
Okay, well, all right. Let me restart.
Yeah.
If I freeze again, just take over. Listen, I like asking people for their embarrassing IT story because almost everybody has one, right? And it to me, it shows the human nature of like how are you comfortable with like awkward things that because when you're in an interview, you're trying to like present yourself as like this shining superstar who's awesome, but like we all have real challenges and real problems, and we've had things. So I don't care what mistake you made or what it was. I'm more interested in like how you present it and how you feel about it, because we're going to be working together closely, and if it's just, to me, it's a real interesting tell about an individual's personality and how they perceive things and how they communicate on difficult things that they may not be comfortable talking about without asking like a personal question, like, oh, like, tell me what your thoughts are on this, political agenda. Like, we're not going to get that, right? But that's a question I like asking personally. All right, so here's another question coming in. Easy Does It wants to know, what's the best way to get reps doing SOC investigations? Wade, I see you light up like a Christmas tree. What do you got, buddy?
Man, I think it's a little bit harder to do this with blue team rather than red team. It's becoming easier, right? Like there's a couple SOC certifications out there right now that I know I've heard a lot about that I haven't taken just because I don't have the time. I think doing CTFs, of course, is going to be great because it's not necessarily the tools that you want to get into, but it's the knowledge and the problem solving. Like, how do I solve this? How do I Google? How do I go through this? Because most of the time, those SOC investigations, you get an alert and you immediately have to go find some documentation or look up an IP address or understand how a process is working, or like, what is this dude's actual function at the job? Should he be doing this? So I think problem solving is going to be great. I always shoot people to Boss of the SOC at Splunk and for Splunk, right? Try Hack Me has that. Highly suggest it. It's one of my favorites.
There you go, Boss of the SOC. Fleetus, any other thoughts to add on this one?
The biggest thing there is, and I think Hayden shared it yesterday, I believe that the gentleman you had on, like, sometimes I can teach you how to review a log. I just can't teach you how to be inquisitive. I can't teach you how to do the puzzle. Like, you have to be able to build the puzzle back. So to Wade's point, you're going to either go find a standard operating procedure or a playbook, because there's, as a SOC, you're generally in a tier. You're generally giving, sometimes a tier list. You're giving a box to work in. This is what you have to collect. This is the evidence I need you to put in the ticket before you escalate it and or close it. So it's being comfortable reading documentation and then building documentation, because I think most people forget that in a SOC investigation. It's not what you do, it's what you document that you found, because the next person is going to review it either for the next alert, or if you're escalating the tier 2 or the IR person's going to need to know where you left off and find gaps in your investigation or add to your investigation.
Got a question coming in from Random X about tooling. Playing with Nuclei, heard Greenbone may be a better option. I mean, so Greenbone is a traditional vulnerability scanner, but it is open source. I don't know the level of support that Greenbone gets as far as being updated with like the most current vulnerabilities and scanning for those things. I haven't played with Nuclei quite a bit. I actually didn't think Nuclei was like a traditional vulnerability scanner. I thought Nuclei was more of a pen testing tool to identify vulnerable apps and stuff like that. Honestly, Random X, I would say use both if you can. I'd probably use Nuclei just because, I mean, that's what threat act or pen testers are using. So like you would kind of be seeing what they're seeing. Like a pen tester isn't going to stand up Greenbone and scan your stuff. So that's my question. My answer on that one. Let's see. So Oso says currently a federal contractor thinking about jumping to private sector MDR provider. Any pitfalls? Wade, what do you think Oso should do here?
MSP, well, I think MSP, MDR providers, depending on what you're going to do, right? Get ready for the suck. Right? You're probably going to get paid more. That's the best way to put it. You're going to get a lot of experience, but for someone to last and live at an MSP, usually it's someone who really likes it. It's a particular type of person. Most people will bail and go somewhere else at a private org, right? There's only so many, at least for me, this is like my standpoint. There's only so many alerts I can send someone telling them to fix something until I'm just like, all right, well, we're just going to tune this out because you honestly don't care. So communication is going to be key there more than anywhere else, more than anything else, I would say too.
There you go. Very, very real talk from Wade here. Lazaro says, good morning. He's a cyber analyst looking to get on the differ team, right? He wants to become an engineer. What are some things that I could focus on to fill gaps he's missing? Okay, and just for background, Fleetus, I don't know if you know Lazaro, but he's one of the Simply Cyber kind of like success stories where he came in and then did the work, broke in. And I think he's been at his job for maybe a year and a half now at this point. So he's crushing it. He's got the right attitude, but it looks like he wants to level up. What do you think?
So this is a loaded question in my opinion. DFIR, he can go ahead and do the IR piece as a security analyst, depending on what type of security analyst he is. So he can already elevate to that piece by requesting more responsibility or sidecar riding beside the IR team. From the digital forensics point of view, what does he want to do what type of digital forensics? Is it dead box, live box? Is it cloud? Is it web? Is it mobile? So you got to pick a lane, and I think that's the hard part about the defer side, at least in my experience, is you may be able to go an inch deep, but you're generally going to want to specialize. You're going to want to do forensics on Macs, forensics on Windows, forensics on Android, iOS, or a specific cloud provider, because I can probably speak for Wade, but AWS defer is not the same as Azure digital forensics. Just the way that they store, they interact, the different ways the load balancers are set up, your security groups, etc. So it really depends on your environment. Are you comfortable with Windows, Linux? Do you have mobile? Do you need to be able to do live or dead box forensics? I don't think that answered your question. So the biggest thing there is just pick the lane and then go study, learn about the kernel of the OS, learn about the way that the cloud is provided, if it's cloud, etc.
Yeah, 100%. And and there's so many resources for DFIR. It's like insane. Like of all the sub niches within our industry, I know pen testing has a lot of tools, but like the DFIR community specifically, not Blue, like DFIR, they are like a tribe, right? Like you guys probably know all the resources. Like if you just want like a nice smooth on-ramp, go check out differdiva.com. Like she's set up a great landing page. There's some type of I haven't seen it in a minute, but there's like a web page that has like 1,000 links on it, and it's all broken up into categories. Jessica Hyde showed me that. Do you know what it is? What I'm talking about?
I do. I can't remember it either. I always tell people to go check out.
Something.
I always tell people to go check out Flare, which is the Flare OS, right? Which is a Windows VM for defer stuff, and then Flare themselves has a CTF that's defer centric. That is pretty good.
I love it. Kyle says, have you ever bypassed the traditional job application system, right? Fleetus is nodding. Fleetus, share your story.
So, as we talked about, I'm past the entry level. I'm not 18 and 20 years old anymore. So when I'm looking for jobs, I'm not going through the traditional process anymore. I'm going to interact with the hiring manager or the company. So I think I've shared this in know the companies you want to work for, connect with the people who work there, and then interact with them and then share your resume. When it's time to get a new job or you're looking for a job, interact with them, let them know you're interested. Sometimes you're going to do a phone screen with the hiring manager. He's going to go ahead and bring someone else on. So sometimes you're going to interview 3 or 4 times before you even put an application in. And that's when HR is like, hey, we can't move forward until they apply. At that point, you're going to have to put a rec in so that they can track you from their HR system, their HR management system. So that's where you have to do that. So yes, I've done that numerous times where I've had phone screens and met with many people internally before I ever put an application to a company.
Yeah, I want to share, it depends on the size of the organization too, right? Like small companies, startups, they can move way faster and they don't have a lot of the middle management requirements that you have to go through. Like even Fleet has mentioned getting budget allocation. Sometimes there'll be budget for and this happens actually more often than you'd think, there'll be budget for like a SOC analyst 1 or whatever. And then they meet you and they're like, oh my God, like you're awesome. We actually do have another need that we didn't even realize until just now, but like we can move that money over and like kind of create a position and fund it with that. So there are creative ways to fund things, including roles. This is why I preach that networking is so valuable, because a lot of times You need someone on the inside. If you're going to bypass traditional job application process, you need somebody on the inside who is championing it for you. You need someone to say your name when you're not in the room, and say it in a positive way, right? If they're saying your name in a bad way, that's not going to be good. That's actually going to follow you quite a bit. But this is why networking is unbelievably valuable, and why having some type of online portfolio, whether it's a YouTube channel or blog or website or whatever it is super valuable, because people are going to find you through that, or they're going to see that and be like, oh, I know who you are. Like, they basically get to meet you on their own pace with frankly less commit, right? So like, if I message you and I'm like, oh, hey, let's meet for coffee, you might be like, oh geez, like that's time. I don't know. I don't want to have this, personal interaction. But if you see me and then you see that I have a YouTube channel, you might graze over there because you can do it almost like in a lurker way, or you can go to a website in a lurker way. And then you might be like, oh geez, this is actually pretty cool. Like, I do want to talk to this person. So it's super valuable to get that way. And yeah, you can totally, I used to be such a conformist where like, oh, the only way to get a job is to apply through the front door, and that's that. And that's just not the case. Like, I've gotten jobs, like, just call the CEO. I mean, again, I already had a relationship with the CEO, so it's not like I just like OSINTed them. But like, just call them and be like, hey, I'm available. Do you want to work together? And they're like, yeah, absolutely. Again, to Fleetus's point, I'm also not entry level at this point, so it's a little bit different. But
the other thing I'll share too, volunteer at conferences and speak at conferences. I can tell you from mentees of mine, they've gotten job offers just from giving a talk. People have approached them and said, hey, when you're looking for a job, let me know. Or, do you currently need a job? I have an opening. So that happens from speaking at a local B-Sides or a DEF CON chapter, or go to Simply Cyber and speak. Like, put in your CFPs, your call for papers. That's another way to bypass the traditional job application. You will have hiring manager or the managers themselves in the room who say, hey, I want to talk to Wade. Wade's a good candidate, or Wade should talk to my counterpart. Wade would be a good fit for my detection engineering team because of the knowledge, and a use case he shared during his presentation is something we're struggling with. You should hire him, either as a consultant. Like, sometimes you can get consulting gigs out of it too. For those who are hiring your career, you can get a consulting gig out of a talk as well.
100. That's a great point, Fleetus. Very, very good. So Wade, let's help S. Cole07 get his company to pay for training or a cert. What's the approach here?
Yeah, build out a justification letter. So if you want some good examples, go to like a SANS course. So like, my first thought is like the SANS 508. If you go on it, scroll down on the right-hand side, there says, do you need justification for this training? They already have a letter pre-written out for you for that. Build out something like that. I will admit, this is something that's actually really good for AI to do. Have it build out, then edit it and tailor it for yourself. And then try to just float the boat with them. Try to see like, hey, here's every reason why I need it and why I should get it. And here's maybe if you can do some type of monetary value of like, me having this is going to make us better at X, Y, and Z with that justification letter. Hopefully it works out.
Yeah. Also, a bit of a longer play, S. Cole, is like when you meet with your manager, like you can lay the groundwork. Like, hey, like, I'm looking at my 2025 goals for the year, and I'd really like to get better at, project management. Like, I'd love to take on some projects, right? So I'm looking at the PMP cert, right? So then maybe if you start doing those things, you could be like, oh, hey, like, I know you've given me this opportunity. It's great. I'd love to keep progressing. The PMP cert is actually perfect. That will make me do the job you've already given me. I'll be more effective at that job. And it's only going to cost X amount of money. Like, what do you say? Can you get me budget? Because you got to remember, most times your direct boss, it's not their money, right? It's not their pool of budget. They will go to the business and ask for that, or their boss who has budget and ask for it. Another thing that's definitely worth doing, and this is going to reveal how nerdy I truly am, but I did this most of my career, but like whenever I go to a company, whether it was Booz Allen or MUSC, one of the very first things I would do like the first week is go pull all the policy. And I'm not looking for what acceptable use is. I'm looking for tuition reimbursement or training limits. There'll often be policy around that. And then all you got to do is figure out what the process is. You might be able to get them to pay whether they want to or not because you align with whatever the workflow is. Sometimes you have to, like I remember one time, okay, really quick story time. There was a policy at MUSC that said if the certs or the training was on this list, then you could request it and get it paid for. Well, then I was like, okay, like nothing on it was cyber. It was all like healthcare related. I was like, this is trash. So I was like, another policy, how to get things added to this. So I went through all the work and effort of getting these things submitted and then approved and then added to the list. And then I submitted a request for the things that were on the list. And I actually got my whole team training in certs because it was working through the policy. So don't sleep on policy. It's policy, just like cyber insurance, is so hot.
That Hansel's so hot right now.
A quick trick to that I've done in my career too is some organizations have an EDU side. So SANS has their org and they have their EDU side. So I was able to enroll in SANS.edu as a non-degree seeking student to take a SANS class at a discounted cost, and I used my continuing ed budget to do it, which is the $5,250 because I knew that was the IRS requirement. The class cost $6,000. I was able to go get the other $650 myself to pay for the rest of the class, or $750 to get the rest of the class. So I got a SANS class for $750 by using my continuous ed. That was another hack to get training, to Jerry's point about using your continuing ed budget.
Wade's got to step away for just a minute. So Fleetus and I are going to tickle your fancy, as it were. So check this out. We got some questions coming in. I want to take this one. I mean, we can both answer it, but Cyber Risk Witch says she's senior in the industry and wants to start creating content, which I think is a phenomenal idea. In full disclosure, I'm wicked biased, but like I have seen the direct impact to making content on a career. Should she use her real name or keep it private? This is a big choice. I would say there's a lot of nuance to it. So number one, how public do you want to be, right? So your own name is going to add a lot of value. But I will say, if you look at somebody like Mad Hat, who makes content on YouTube about cyber, he's wildly entertaining and he literally wears a mask so you don't know who he is. Now, if you wanted to connect with him and get up with him, I'm sure you could figure out a way. So you're not diminishing all value of making the content if you do remain anonymous. I will say, if you know me for a minute, you know that I'm like super supportive, super inclusive. I will say that I have seen a disproportionate amount of female content creators getting attention that is not directly related to practitioner stuff and industry stuff, which is not fair. But sadly, it is something you need to give consideration to. If you look at Sandra Liu, she's very much Sandra Liu. I mean, that's the name of her channel, and she's, big and out there and she does things. But then, she gets things, comments. Cyber Maddie's another one who gets comments and stuff like that. So you do have to balance, like, what's your tolerance for that type of, I guess, misogyny, for lack of a better term. But I would say you can choose either direction. I personally did Gerald Auger -- Simply Cyber because, I guess I couldn't decide, but I've actually, if you've noticed, I've recently changed it. It used to be Simply Cyber Gerald Auger, or Gerald Auger Simply Cyber, and I've turned it now to Simply Cyber -- Gerald Auger. But that's because the channel has, I've taken the channel in a new direction, and there's like 7 or 8 podcasts on it. I'm not even on-air talent for 7 of them. So it's more about Simply Cyber than it is about me. Fleetus, any thoughts for Cyber Risk Witch?
Yeah, so going through, like, watching the chat, I would agree. What is the content you're creating? Why are you creating the content? Is it for personal brand? Then you probably want to use your name. If it's just for awareness or educating, then it's maybe okay to put a handle. And you got to be comfortable where you're going to put it. So we talk about all the time, data privacy, data recognition, things are going to get out there. So if you're going to reference your material from the stage, from LinkedIn, from another platform, it's probably easier to keep it close to your actual persona to make it easier to find you when they just search it. So like my channel is my name. I kept it to my name to make it very easy. And plus Fleetus is unique. It's not hard to find me. Like I can't hide very well. I have a very unique name. You're going to find me. If you do any type of OSENT, you could probably show up at my front door in 15 minutes. It's just that easy to find me. So.
Yeah, and actually, this is another great point. Jack Resider does Darknet Diaries. He's very, very private. Like he'll wear a bandana and a hat and glasses at conferences and stuff. I do want to point out, either I heard Jack say this in an interview, or I've met him a few times. He may have told me this well, he's been on Simply Cyber, but some of the topics he's covering is like really dangerous people. So it's less about like, like, oh, like you're so attractive. It's more like I'm going to find you because you've disrupted my criminal operation. So like, again, it's 100%. What kind of content are you making? What's the goal, etc. Yeah, I'm a huge fan. I mean, if you look at someone like Accidental CISO, like he had a anonymous persona, but if you're going to be anonymous or very difficult, like you would now have to like basically go full OPSEC all the time because we are cyber practitioners. Our community likes challenges. Michelle Khan wants to find out who you are. So like, it is a thing. So great question though. And by the way, I love chat. You guys had a lot of thoughts on this. Wade, do you have any thoughts on this one? Just because it's a very, very hot topic.
Yeah. My dad actually was one of the first people to talk to me about this. And he's like, what if they come get you? And I'm like, what? And then recently he found out that I do YouTube. He didn't know that you searched me and he's like, you're all over the place. He's like, you better buy a gun. That was literally like, my dad comes from a different perspective, a darker one. And that is a thought of mine, but honestly, if you're trying to build your brand, right, if you're trying to do it for not just helping the community, but helping yourself out too, which like is a positive part. Like I don't do all this stuff to be famous or to like really like make sure I have a job. I do it to help people. And it feels, honestly, doing this makes me feel better than most of the time doing my job. But that's just a positive in the end where since people know me, if I lost my job, I probably could get a job fairly quickly just because they do actually know my real name. Yep. Yeah.
Thank you. And Cyber Riskwitch with the super chat coming in hot. Hold on, let me grab this one.
Yeah, so to Wade's point sometime, and we don't talk about this enough, and I had this conversation yesterday with someone. The purpose of me on here, my podcast and other stuff, is this is an outlet for me to not be burned out. Because this field at times can get very lonely, can get very rough to sit in, and can be very draining both personally, professionally, and emotionally. So like having outlets is another reason I make content. It gives me something that I can distract myself from the stresses of the work, and it's an outlet to give back so that someone else, like I did this on the Simply Defensive, I want to help you get out of the ditch before you get in the ditch. So if my content can keep you from steering yourself into
best friends. Yep.
We had a win. And I may never know that win. And I may never know that win. And I don't need to know, but you know that the content from Wade, myself, Jerry, and others kept you from making a drastic mistake or helped you find the next career path or objective you wanted to do.
Thank you, Cyberlorian, for the super chat. Definitely appreciate that. And I agree. I honestly feel like whether it's... I've talked to a lot of content creators in the cybersecurity space. I've talked to a lot of people who are not making content, but they're doing more personal type stuff. I don't know what it is, but I feel like when you reach a certain level in your career in cyber, like you feel a compulsion to want to help junior people because it's a hard road to get here. And I don't know, it feels nice to help people not to have to stub their toe as much or skin their knee, right? I always equate it to like being like a Sherpa on Everest, right? Like you've gone up and down the mountain many, many times, right? And you've got this new hiker who's all excited and they got all the new gear and stuff. You have an opportunity to help them go up and it fills my cups. I mean, it's why I started the channel, well, frankly. So, all right, what's this? We got a mustache. Oh yeah. Hey, if Wade, dude, Wade shaves the mustache and he doesn't get admitted to B-Side San Diego. They're like, bro, like who are you?
Yeah.
Yeah. You're like the guy, Wilson from Home Improvement. The guy.
Side tangent right here. Just for those who've been around the cyber world. When Rob Lee shaved for the first time, I could not figure out who he was.
Yeah.
Like from Dragos, like the fact that he decided to fully shave, like he cut his hair, he cut his beard, like he could have easily passed by the street and I would have not known who he was until he spoke, of course. But it's
Yeah, he had a very iconic beard. That's like Bo Bullock shaving his beard. You know, it's like, who are you?
Yep.
All right, let's keep the questions going. Just a reminder that Daniel Lowry
Did we just become best friends? Yep.
Daniel Lowry is going to be streaming at 10 a.m. Eastern time with his stream. Daniel Lowry IRL, another amazing content creator and mentor in the space. Here's a good question. Would it be looked down upon to say that you use ChatGPT for scripting and deciphering logs? Wade, what do you think, buddy?
You got it. It's a slippery slope. You got to be careful. Just because if you're saying you're using it for like deciphering logs, hopefully it was in a regulated ChatGPT and you're not in there throwing some highly sensitive logs in there. Same thing with scripting. They want to know you can script, right? If you have an excellent like GitHub that has a bunch of scripting, be like, yeah, I've been like actively using, like you want to say you can do the thing and then say you're enhancing yourself with ChatGPT. There you go. That's what I want to say, right? You can do it, but I've been looking to how to make myself better with ChatGPT. That is literally like my exact line that I used.
There you go. Clip that. That is the answer.
Yeah.
You use it to augment your abilities, not to replace your abilities.
One thing I will
go ahead.
caveat on that, just say I'm educating myself on generative AI because I know it's a tool that I'm going to need to use in the field to enhance versus just dropping ChatGPT. I think there are still some people who don't understand what ChatGPT actually is. They only know what the media has told them. So maybe not name drop the actual AI engine unless you have, if they specifically ask, just say you're educating yourself on content engineering and prompt engineering with generative AI to enhance my X, Y, and Z.
Just quick little Cyberlorian with a super chat again. I think the first one was a misfire, so thank you for that. Planning on wearing a mask to make content, doesn't want to hide who they are, but they think masks are cool. Hey, nothing wrong with that. Get after it. Roswell, UK had an interview 2 days. How long to ask before asking for feedback? This is a quick around the horn. I'm a big fan of day of sending a thank you note, 3 days after interview. Sending a follow-up of like something you talked about in the interview that you researched, or just letting them know you're excited and looking for next steps. Wade, quick answer, 30 seconds.
I ask them during the interview when I should expect feedback or when I should hear the back from them. I don't send any comms after the interview. Yeah.
Okay, Wade plays it cool, not thirsty. Fleetus?
I kind of mix between you two. I will send a thank you email and say I'm looking forward to your feedback, and I will ask them in the interview when should I expect feedback.
All right, I like it. I guess I'm just the thirst one, right? GRC dork with overdoing it. I'm looking at questions right now. Oh, hey, just really quickly, Chuck Sapp is a vetted Simply Cyber community member, Wade. So don't, he wants you to put your voice on Speechify so he can have Wade reading him technical information on the reg.
Man, I'll head up Speechify. I am a heavy user of Speechify. So I will read Intel blogs while they're also playing on Speechify.
You'll
great.
Read it while someone's
reading it to me.
So it's like
yeah.
synced.
Mm-hmm. It helps me with comprehension pretty well. Yeah.
Interesting. I don't even know about Speechify.
It's just a e-reader app that you pay for. There's a couple AI tools within it, so that like it actually sounds good, like Snoop Dogg's voice in it,
that's
right?
really nice.
It works out pretty well. They have a phone app. You can upload PDFs to it. There's literally everything. I was downloading my books into PDF and then listening to them on Speechify.
Okay, there you go. I like it.
Workaround for audiobooks.
So it's potential, Chuck Sapp. You may get your Wade love here. Just quick, Mr. Underhill, going back. I said earlier I like asking about an embarrassing story. He said, what if you don't have one? If you don't have one, you don't have one. I mean, I'm not going to put like a an 18-year-old, you know, to the I'm not going to like beat him up over it, but at the same time, I mean, if you are interviewing for a technical role, like you've probably done some lab stuff or done something, like even if it's like you forgot to plug in your Ethernet cable and you spent 4 hours troubleshooting. I'll give you a silly one. This is super embarrassing. This is super embarrassing. Last night, Hayden Covington was my guest on Simply Cyber Firesides. He is a detection engineer. He runs the SecOps at Black Hills Active SOC. Okay, and I built out Security Onion in my home environment last week, and I've got, you know, agents running on all my endpoints, and I put Sysmon on my this battle station because this one's a higher priority. And the Sysmon logs are catching in Event Viewer, but they're not pushing to Security Onion. And I was like frustrated. I'm looking at freaking integrations, agent policies, all these things. And Hayden's like, and I was like, I mentioned, and Hayden's like, I can help you. And I'm like, dude, I didn't have you on to like, you know, do IT support. He's like, no, it'll take like 10 seconds. I'm like, okay. So we go through and he's checking some things. And he's like, I don't know. He's like, everything should be working. This is like 30 seconds. And he's like, everything should be working. He's like, why don't you turn off and turn on the integration? Just toggle it on and off. And I toggle it on and off, and it like someone opened a friggin' fire hose into Security Onion. Logs are just like, roar. And so like literally IT support 101. Have you turned it off and on again? Like the IT crowd joke. And I was like, thanks, Aiden.
I had a buddy hit me up yesterday, ask me to help him with his printer. He's walking distance away, and I walk over there and I'm looking at it. He's like, it won't close. I don't know why. I like turn it off. I unplug it. I plug it back in, and I look, and there is literally like a gray button that overextends the tray, and you just press this gray button to push it in. And I take the whole thing apart and put it back together and get it working. I'm like, all right, man, here you go. It's all good. I didn't tell him that literally like you accidentally pressed this button, and it was.
Oh, you're a good man, Wade Wells.
I have something very similar. I had a friend of mine say, hey, my internet stopped working. And I went over and started looking at it. He had been paying for internet for over a year, but he was connected to his neighbor's Wi-Fi. And when his neighbor moved, he had never connected to his home network. He had been using his neighbor's Wi-Fi for the full year. So I was like, you should call up your ISP and see if you can get some money back. They should have called you when there's no traffic on your internet for a full year.
They want that money.
Oh my God, that is so funny. Well, there you go. See, Mr. Underhill, everyone's got stories. Even as recent as this week for many of us. McCoy Girk says, career pivoting with no paid IT experience, is this entry-level job market, being a generalist, a disadvantage? With such competition, do you need deep knowledge or skills? Fleetus, why don't you take this one?
So I hate this question and love this question at the same time because the market is just bad for entry-level work right now. I have some very qualified mentees and friends who could easily have gotten work pre-pandemic. They cannot find work right now, and I feel bad for them. So I think a generalist is a good thing as an entry level because you don't know what you don't know. You don't know what you like. You don't know what you're going to enjoy. So if you get into a deep level right now or deep skill, it may be deprecated. I think we joked on here, like picking a vendor. Fortinet firewalls, I'm going to specialize in. Well, a company you work for may never use Fortinet. So you just spend all this time learning a vendor. Yes, you still have transferable skills because it's still a firewall. It's still a technology. But you got to be careful with that. I think generalist is the best way to start, and then you specialize once you're in the field.
Yeah, and you definitely see that as a common approach, like eating from the buffet, and then especially because like essentially the entry-level stuff, there's a lot of process around it. There's a lot of things that people can help you with, so you can do a bunch of, grunt work basically. But then as you get more advanced, right, you're going to start picking up very specific skills. David Simpson wants to know where they can learn more about vulnerability management and EPSS. Well, number one, EPSS, you can go to the EPSS first website. I think it's first.epss.org. And you can learn all about it. If you really want to go deep in the most, again, hopefully this reveals how willing I am to be just embarrassed or shamed. If you go David, I actually have an interview on Simply Cyber with Brandon Poole, where the name of the interview is "You're Doing Vulnerability Management Wrong," and he basically lays out a very compelling case on why CVSS is not a good score for vulnerabilities and why EPSS is, and he talks about it for like 30 minutes. That's probably like the best, like very consumable resource on that type of content. You guys, either of you have a resource or anything for David Fleetus?
I mean, my only thing there, and I think it goes very well, is you have to break the mold that CVE and CVSS is the only way to do vulnerability management. We need to know about the CVE. You need to know what the CVSS score is. But as Jerry was saying earlier on Simply Cyber, if it's not internet facing or if there's compensating controls, it's not a critical. It's not a high if there's compensating. Like being able to risk rate. Just because the tool says it's a critical or the CVSS says it's a 9 or higher doesn't always mean it's a critical to your environment. So it's really being able to apply the technology to the environment which you work in. For example, I have more or less an air-gapped hardened data center. The only thing that can talk to it is the application itself. I have a smaller threat vector for the infrastructure that's inside of that environment. So I have to weigh different vulnerabilities. But my internet-facing things, to Jerry's point during Simply Cyber, I'm going to jump immediately when there's an unauthenticated vulnerability. I'm going to shut it down, and I'm going to find another way to allow people to work until I can fix it, if I can.
So this is a follow-up question for Wade. So Wade, like when you see news out on a unauthenticated remote code execute arbitrary code execution, you know what I'm saying? Do you like, what do you like, what's your thought process? Do you just say, oh, or do you like jump into the SIM and threat hunter? Like what is your typical approach when you get threat intelligence like that?
Yeah, so this all depends, like, right off the bat, where is the vulnerability, just like Fleeta said, right? Like, is it on the edge? Is it internal somewhere? Then I'll read the whole report, look to see, okay, can I write something around this? And then the third thing is, all right, reach out to the red team. Hey, can you exploit this for me real quick, right? Like, having them exploit it if there is some type of POC out will save me so much time because I can actually see the payload and see the logs and everything for it, and then gives me a true positive to work around for detection. But the big thing is, like, where is this on the network? Hopefully you have your vulnerability management team that's running this down more than the detection engineering team, but I've seen it vice versa as well, where I am the main point of contact for vulnerabilities. I'm like, this shouldn't be me. But yeah. Other thing is, right, just keeping sure that MITRE is still up and running everything. That's always important.
Yeah, MITRE Attack is a great resource. If you're not familiar with MITRE Attack, go Google it. MITRE Attack. If you just type in MITRE Attack, it'll come up. Attack is spelled with an ampersand, but you'll see it. Kayla says, I'm looking into learning quantum mechanics and physics in an attempt to be prepared when quantum computing comes to mainstream. Am I barking up the wrong tree? If it were me, Kayla, I believe that quantum computing will not be mainstream for a generation. The amount of the whole thing with quantum computers is that you have to get them incredibly cold, like almost 0 Kelvin cold, because you're dealing with the state of the atoms, the quantum state of them. So I know that they have quantum computers and they've demonstrated them and stuff like that, but going to Best Buy and getting Windows quantum computer is not in my opinion, I'll be dead before that happens. I think quantum computers will be used at nation state levels for very specific applications, very almost harken back to the way that mainframes were used in the 50s by DARPA and RAND and SRI and stuff like that. Like it's the way the internet was, 70 years ago. Like high-end research facilities like Bell Labs and super first world power will have it. So I think quantum mechanics and quantum physics is incredibly interesting and very fun. But I don't know if you're going to spend effort learning how to do detection engineering versus secure a quantum computer, you're probably going to get more return on your investment on detection engineering, even though it's not as, hot as quantum computers. Do you guys have a disagreeing opinion on that? Okay.
Nah, it's about right.
Okay. Piggybacking off entry-level question, not a political show, but with the proposed shift in federal decentralization nationally, will this bolster opportunity or exacerbate a resource gap? So I guess I'm just going to rephrase this SS Boxer question for the panel here and just say, do you think that the future of our industry, like say the next 1 to 3 years, say, do you think that there's going to be a growth in opportunity for cyber work or a degradation in opportunity for cyber work? Fleetus?
So this is going to be tough. A lot of cyber work is government based. People don't realize the amount of government contracts that a lot of companies work on. There's many big cyber firms, private and public, who rely on their government contracts. So the decentralization may hurt them initially until someone else picks up that. The people leaving these job roles could now give us intel into our field to allow us to be better prepared to support the government when they stand back up. Because if you remember, history repeats itself. So I think you're going to see pretty much an ebb and flow. You're going to see some contracts go away. You're going to see some small organizations dissolve. You're going to see some contracts come back. You're going to see organizations pick back up, new name, similar talent, probably picking up talent from the decentralization and moving forward. That's where I see it going. That's my crystal ball, and it's still very cloudy.
Wade, you got thoughts? Left Coast Wade?
I think in the private sector there will be a lot more turmoil in the short run. I think there'll be a pickup in roles. But the other weird thing is the offset of AI. Everyone's jumping on AI that, that's going to take those entry-level roles. I have no clue. Like, I'm just wading through this part of life, you know.
Wading through life? Wading through logs? Wading through life?
That's my philosophical handle, wading through life.
I love it. So we're just a couple minutes away. I want to remind everybody that, as per usual, on Fridays we love supporting our community and our friends. And Daniel Lowry, this guy right here, wonderful content creator, really nice guy, very smart, focuses more on the offensive side and has a certain penchant for hardware hacking. He does a Friday AMA, drinks a lot of Monster Energy, has a cool setup, like the look of it's really nice, and what he has to share is really cool. So this is going to go live in 2 minutes, so we're going to go ahead and rate it together when the time comes. But we got a couple minutes here. Wade, you wanna talk about anything, share anything with the community?
Yeah, I guess I haven't talked about this. Honestly, since the new job, I've kind of been like media blackout. And especially after B-Side San Diego. I will be speaking at Hack SpaceCon. So I'll be out in Florida at the Kennedy Space Center talking about quick talk that's called Detection Engineering, everything but the logic. So it's pretty much how to do detection engineering except write logic for it and everything. That should be fun. Besides that, I have nothing going on. And I'm kind of taking it easy this year. So
there you go. And I'll just share this with everybody really quickly before we ask Fleetus. This is the Hack SpaceCon. I'll drop a link to this in chat if you'd like to go check it out. It is at the Kennedy Space Center in Florida, so you have to physically get there. But it was a pretty great conference last year. I know the conference organizers behind it. They're really nice guys, and they seem like super passionate about helping community. So it's a cool event. Fleetus, what do you got going on that people should check out?
Yeah, so still got my channel going on. Still posting little daily food for thoughts as well as a Saturday cyber sip and retreat. So I'll have something out on Saturday. Still trying to put out mini presentations on Mondays. They generally launch around lunchtime on the Eastern time, so check those out. And then something I just want to shout out that another way that we talked about that I was giving back. I just wrapped up a 4-month mini series with Appalachian State doing a webinar series. The students went through 4 rounds. The winner of the 4th round is actually getting a chance to speak at HUSECCon later this year. So we're actually sending an undergrad student and the other 2 finalists to attend the conference. So that's been great to see the students learn public speaking, be able to research topics. So that accolade is something that I'm thankful to be part of for the last 4 months, is helping an undergrad student in cybersecurity get public speaking and potentially give their first talk at a conference as they're graduating from their undergrad.
Oh, that's very cool. I love it.
I have one other thing that
Go ahead.
I want to hint towards that Josh Mason and I may do a bonus episode of Simply Defensive that's going to be a little hotter than the rest. that Jerry's gonna come in on, and that's all I'm gonna say.
Very, very spicy tease. Yeah,
Yes.
if you've been enjoying the Simply Defensive, it's Mondays at 9:30 a.m. on Simply Cyber's channel, but it is Wade Wells and Josh Mason. And I will tell you, they did reach out to me about a project, and it is spicy. All right, guys. Daniel Lowry has not got in the room. Oh, he's about to start now. So, all right, guys, you can see here Daniel Lowry's there. We've got it pinned in group chat right now, so you can go. We're going to raid together. I'm Jerry from Simply Cyber. I want to say special thanks to Frank and Wade Wells. Thank you very much. Until next time, y'all, stay secure.